Hi again, Cold Warrior 78 here, out in the woods, and I wanted to talk to you about cutting tools. Well, one of the 5 C's of survival, something that everybody looks at. I'm going to come down here a minute, pan across these guys. So we have 3 knives, 2 hatchets, a machete, folding saw, and a pair of ratcheting cutters. Now let's start with the more standard ideas. These knives, starting from the right, it's a Rat 7 by Ontario. That's the Puma 7-inch hollow ground blade, and that little bird knife there is actually a K-bar. That's the K-bar Fish and Bird from years and years ago. Continuing on over, these are both shingle hatchets. This is called a carpenter's hatchet. It's a Vaughan 22 ounce. It's available at Walmart, Lowe's, a couple places like that. It's heavy, but it gets the job done, and I like the hammer pole on the end. Now, this littler one, this is also a shingling hatchet from back in the days when my dad was shingling houses with cedar shakes. And this was literally used to split the cedar shake 2 sides up on the roof, and then use the hammer pole obviously for hammering the nails. Those are both excellent. The machete, standard, seen them everywhere kind of machete. It's got US stamped in it. It's got the military sheath behind it. Got it in a surplus store for a couple of bucks. I mean, literally like $5 or $6. All right. The saw, this folding saw, is from the Ameristep tree stand company. My wife got me the saw and the cutters in a 2-piece, the Christmas deal. She got it for a couple of bucks. I don't remember how much. I want to point out that even though I don't know who actually makes the saw, I'm sure Ameristep doesn't, but for a very inexpensive, let's say entry-level kind of saw, that thing is excellent. I've been using it for over 10 years and it has never failed me. Take a look at those teeth. A proper saw has a set. All right, now if you look at, maybe see it a little bit better that way. Some of the teeth are sharpened on one side, some of the teeth are sharpened on the other side. That's how you get a kerf, which is that empty space when you are literally pulling wood out of the cut. That saw does what none of the rest of these things can do, which is give you a very flat end on a piece of wood. So that if you are going to be splitting wood later on, you need to cut it with a saw. Saws are also a lot quieter, a lot faster, and a lot more energy efficient than chopping with any kind of axe or other implement. I'll come back to these ratcheting cutters in a minute, because I built a survival shelter with that saw and those cutters and nothing else. A big debris shelter that was, the ridge was about 4.5, 5 foot tall, and absolutely quietly. I had guys hunting on my land within 300 yards. They never heard anything. They didn't know I was out there. Okay. All right, well, I might as well get into these now. Okay, ratcheting cutters, not just regular cutters. You see this little mechanism here in the middle? All right, that allows it to ratchet down on a branch, come back up, get more leverage, cut it. You can cut very large branches with something like this. And the cool thing is, it's quiet. When you're clearing trails, I mean, they sold it for clearing shooting lanes, but when I'm hiking out here in the desert, up in the mountains, cat's claw bushes, when I'm at home, those greenbriers, all those nasty thorn bushes, this is way faster and safer than trying to use a machete or any of these knives to hack away through the wilderness, because you literally just take it up, snip, 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 cut your way through. I know it doesn't sound as macho as having a big machete or some of these great knives, but dude, that works. Now, let me come back over to the knives for a minute. And these are just a representation of knives that are on the market. You can get all kinds of knives. The Rat 7 is on the big side of where most people would excuse me, call a survival knife. When I first went into the Army, a 7-inch blade was considered a standard length for a survival knife. Marine Corps fighting knife, K-bars and things like that, 6 and 7-inch blades. So I'm kind of a big blade guy. I always have a big bladed knife with me just because I'm used to it. Now let me explain a few things on the differences of these knives. I'll start with this Puma here for a minute. Alright, now the Puma, made in Germany, Solgen stainless steel blade, and you can probably see from the way the light's shining off of that, this is a hollow ground edge. That edge is very fine and literally scalpel sharp. It holds an edge really, really well, and if you know how to sharpen it, man, you can keep this thing surgery sharp. I mean, way past just shaving some hair off your arm. The little bird knife from well, a lot of companies make them. This particular one, like I said, is actually a K-bar. They're available now with a hollow grind. The original one I had that my grandfather gave to me when I was 12 was a flat grind, full flat. This is an excellent knife for getting a lot of little work done. If you have to dress out deer, this is an absolutely excellent knife to use for that. You can also do birds with it. You can do pretty much anything. It's an all-around kind of knife. It just is not, you know, a big honking knife like some of these other ones. So you're not going to be batoning that thing through any kind of wood. All right, I'm going to come back over here to the Rat 7. Now the Rat 7, it's got a high carbon steel blade on it. You guys are familiar with it. You've seen them before. Everybody reviews them. I'm not going to go whacking on things with these. Full flat grind, I like that. This coating, we'll see how it stands up. I'm not very excited about coated blades. I don't mind having exposed steel because I'm used to taking care of it. Look, the bottom line is you just don't take a knife and ignore it. Oils, greases, all kinds of things on there that you can have. One of the things that I really do like about this is it's your basic old style butcher knife kind of profile. Okay, it's not fancy. This top edge here is not sharpened, but that is plenty strong enough. If you see how the geometry of that point, there's what you call a distal taper on it, which means back here at the handle it's thick, and the entire knife blade narrows going down to the front. Obviously it's going to narrow coming down to the edge because it's a full flat grind. Alright, so if you had to take that point and shove it into a paint can, 55-gallon drum, something ugly, it could be done. It's a very strong point. Not as fancy as a lot of the daggers that are out there, but way, way more functional. I will say that the edge that came from the factory on this was excellent. Well, let me step back. It was the proper pitch. It was a proper angle. It was not refined, which means to me somebody either by hand or in a jig in a machine slap this thing on a belt grinder and they put this little, see that little silver edge right there? It's on the proper angle. See if you can look at it that way. It's on the right angle, but you could see all the tool marks when I got it. So I just didn't put an edge on it. I just took my sharpening system out. A couple of passes on the rough diamond, a couple more on the medium diamond, and then on the ceramic stone, and man, this thing is way sharp and smooth. You know you've got a good sharp blade when you have a smooth edge. Alright? If you see a lot of file marks, grinding marks, then you haven't sharpened that knife properly. Alright. Now, what are knives for? In my book, knives are for cutting. That's why I want them scalpel sharp if I can get them that way. That's a matter of the steel and the blade geometry. Sometimes you can modify bad blade geometry to make it do what you need it to do, but more often than not, it's not really worth the trouble. So, knives are for cutting. Generally, I don't even baton with my knives. Alright? I may have to baton to cut deep into something. When I carried the Puma as my primary survival knife, I had to cut some things to length, and I would lay it on the log and hit the back of the blade with a piece of wood to try to make notches and wedges, things like that. Generally speaking, I don't think batoning is that smart an idea. Not that the blade's going to break, although it's certainly, if you look at enough reviews, you will see a lot of blades breaking. But here's the bottom line. Why take something as big around as my fist or my arm and try to make that out of it when there's a ton of this laying around? Now, that may not be your environment, but it's been my experience that if you're out in the woods and you look hard enough, you can find everything from pencil-sized to thumb-sized wood everywhere. Now, if you're going to national forest or national park, state park campsites where they have just scavenged all the wood out, well, that's fine. You know, buy some firewood, whatever you have to do, but don't process it with a knife. Use something that's designed for it, okay? Wedge shaped, lots of steel, that will split wood. Wedge shaped, lots of steel, that will split wood. They will chop if you absolutely have to. I can limb trees with these things. I got a down tree. But really, if you have one of these, why are you chopping anything? Okay? So I carry these. Now I've got the arrangement today because I was practicing with a couple of different things. But if you're going to chop, use a chopping tool. Do not use a cutting tool. Alright? Machete. Great for chopping light things, vines, saplings. Depending on the species of wood, easily take out a 3-inch sapling with this thing. Particularly if it's not, now I would not recommend 3-inch oak, but you could do it. You're going to wind up sharpening your blade an awful lot if you're going to be beating up oak with this. But for clear and brush, frankly, even though I've had that old shingle hammer, literally had it all my life. My dad gave it to me when I was, I don't know, 8 or 10. And I've had knives of all sorts. Machetes have been what I have carried with me camping and backpacking because you can process all kinds of wood with a machete. Quite frankly, if it's too big for a machete, you don't need to be burning it in a backpacking situation. My opinion. And if you need to, for goodness sakes, get yourself a saw. I mean, really. These things aren't that expensive. Now, silky saws and those kind of things, a little bit pricey. Very, very good saws. Can you avoid the price by, you know, getting a cheaper saw? Absolutely. They're all over the marketplace. Just be careful. You get what you pay for. I also have, and I have carried backpacking many times, a bow saw. I don't have one with me because I've gotten kind of out of the habit of carrying them anymore. But bow saws are excellent as well. Again, it cross cuts. You're cutting across the grain of the wood. So you have your nice square edges. And way less time, effort, and noise than using any kind of axe or such with it. All right? So, in summary, choose whatever knife you like. I've got dozens of knives, literally dozens of knives. I'm carrying 2 more pocket knives at the moment in my backpack. I have a Scandinavian hunter's knife, a Pupka to finish something or other. You know, you've seen Moras, you've seen, I mean, gosh, look on the internet. Everybody's got their videos on, here's what I do. This is the kind of thing you use a knife for, okay? Processing meat, processing animals, making feather sticks and things. Now, that was a knife, that was the Rat 7. This was actually that Vaughn. And then just for fun, I did some very small fish scale kind of cuts up here with the little one, my little K-bar. Cutting tools. You cut with them. You don't beat them up. And you keep them razor sharp. Chopping tools. Okay? Chopping tools. If you're going to chop, use a chopping tool. Don't use a cutting tool. And if you're going to process wood in a big, ugly way, saw. One sort or another. Buy a quality saw. You don't have to spend hundreds of bucks on it. Go to these folding saws. Fiskars makes a bunch of folding saws. You can get in Home Depot, for crying out loud. You know, big box stores, or do a search for saws on the internet. You thousands and thousands and thousands of varieties. If you're just starting out with this stuff, you know, okay, get a cheaper saw. Learn to use it. This latch system up here, I'm not a real big fan of that, but it's a cheap saw. I can live with it. You know, will I get a silky saw someday? Yeah, probably. At the moment, not big enough on my priority because it works. All right. Now, let me say one more thing. If one of the reasons why folding saws are so handy, let me get this thing out of here if I can do it one-handed. Come on. All right. When you fold the blade up, get your fingers out of the way. Make sure that fits all the way in there. Once you get a bend to this thing, they're going to tend to hit the outside. All right. Do not let your fingers come in contact with those teeth, or you will need your first aid kit, without question. If you have a bow saw that obviously doesn't fold up, get a piece of hose, plastic, inner tube. Inner tube's kind of lightweight. I like a piece of hose or a PEX pipe, something like that, and just cover the blade with plastic. You can put it on with rubber bands, you can tie it on with string, you can get it fancy as you want to. Cover that blade, because you're going to wind up bleeding on it otherwise. Okay, if you get a set of clippers, okay, and again, these things are great. I hang them off a carabiner off my belt when I'm hiking. Make sure that they've got a latch so they stay closed. Because if they're hanging around like that, bouncing around on you, that needs to be sharp. Enough said. All right. Every good knife should come with a good sheath. Recently, people have been dissing having a leather sheath. I don't know why. I've carried leather sheaths my whole life. I much prefer them to the cheap plastic and nylon crap that's out there. All right. Yes, it can get wet in the rain. Yes, you have to dry it out. Boo-hoo. Learn how to live with your equipment and learn how to take care of it. You need to take care of your boots. You got to take care of your belt. You got to take care of your leather goods. Bottom line, do it. Get over it. Now, when you get to hatchets, particularly if you're using something as an outdoor hatchet that wasn't really designed for it, get a sheath, make a sheath. Now, in the case of this little one, that is a nasty old piece of ABS plastic that I spray painted Rust-Oleum red. See if I can do this one-handed. Fits in here. Okay, it snaps on there because I hit it with a heat gun. squashed it down, wrapped it around here a little bit. I can still use it as a hammer with the sheath on. All right, and I've got a couple things there for hanging it, different configurations. But you need to have a sheath so that when you are hammering with this thing, it doesn't come back up and whack you with that nice sharp edge. Same thing with this. Now this does not come with a sheath. If you're hammering with this, look at where that nice sharp edge is coming, all right? And if you understand hammering, it's going to bounce back up. You don't want that blade bouncing back up into your face. So for the time being, until I get a chance to buy or make a better one, got a piece of cardboard that I folded up. All right. Try to do this one-handed again so I don't hurt myself. Ain't gonna happen. Hang on a minute. Anyway, there we go. Get the flaps on the outside. It's not perfect, people, but until I can get something that is, then tie it with a string. All right? So I can put that in a pack, and the cardboard will at least keep that from tearing the pack up until such time as I can get something like this. I'm probably going to get one of my buddies that does Kydex, make me a fancy holster for that. All right, but again, hammer pole is exposed so that you can hammer with it and not have a sharp piece of metal come up in your face. Don't hammer with knives. Rat 7's a good example. You've got this fancy little thing on the end. Somebody was saying you can use it for, it's a skull crusher or it's a window breaker, it's a whatever. Look, dude, if you are hammering with that, what is pointing at you? Really? Come on. That's something that I think came out of the old K-bar fighting knife because it had that flat end on it. And I have seen so many people hurt themselves doing that. This is not a hammer. Don't do that. And if you have to, for whatever reason, put a sheath back on it. Take it off your belt, put the sheath back on it so that this is not up next to your face. Alrighty, so again, cutting tools cut, chopping tools chop, and if you need to do a lot of cross-cut wood, get yourself a saw. Alrighty? Okay, so that's a simple Mike take on the C for cutting, one of the 5 C's of survival. If you don't know what that is, look it up. A lot of smart guys are using that to help them make sure they've got what they need for surviving out in the woods. But at any rate, you don't have to have just one thing, okay? I typically bring, out of that pile of stuff you saw, I will typically bring, at the moment the Rat 7 is my belt knife. I said I had a backup knife in my pack, and I carry the saw in the pack, and I carry the clippers on my belt, so that when I get out and get into the cat's claw and the really nasty briars and stuff, snip, 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 and I'm through them. I don't have to worry about hacking and breaking and leaving blood everywhere. Just use that. So yeah, am I tool heavy? Absolutely. I absolutely am. And I'm okay with that, because with those tools, I can do anything I need to do. If you want a really good discussion of tools for survival, off-grid living and things like that, check out Dave Canterbury's 5 Tools. It's an excellent idea. I'm always more interested in going tool heavy so that I can do things with them, make things with them, than being ultra light and not. The concept of a one tool option to me is kind of stupid. I don't have one gun, I don't have one knife, I don't have one anything. Why would you plan to have your life suck so bad? Doesn't make any sense to me. All right, so this is Cold Warrior 78 saying, get back out in the woods and we'll see you there. Bye-bye.